Welcome to Your Next Move podcast with Kimberly Brown. Today, we are going to talk about compulsion. And I probably say it's my favorite topic all the time. So you probably hear that in the beginning of most of my podcast episodes, but we're going to say it again. This is definitely one of my favorites. And it's one of my favorites because one of the biggest questions I get from my peers on other podcasts is about my drive. Is like, how do I have the drive to do all the things that I've done? And I was on a walk with one of my close friends, Joyce, and he asked about it. He's like, your drive, like, what is this? Like, it's more than just waking up and being motivated, because we all know motivated doesn't always lead to action. You could feel super excited and motivated after reading a book, but are you actually going to put the plan together that allows you to achieve whatever goal it is that you'd like to achieve? And so many people can agree that, yeah, no, motivation and inspiration sometimes doesn't lead to that. When people hire me as a speaker at their organizations, one of the things I always share about me is that I don't really care about motivating and inspiring you. I don't. And most people kind of step back and be like, so what are you here for? I'm like, I like to help people take action. So while I will tell great stories and you probably will feel motivated and inspired, my goal is to actually tell you or teach you what action you need to take in order to create change in your life. But for me, when I talk about motivation, for me, it's less about motivation and more about compulsion. I feel so compelled to do the things that I do to achieve the goals that I'd like to achieve that honestly, it doesn't feel like a choice. In my book, I talk about some pieces of advice that my father gave me, and there's two pieces I want to share with you today. So one is be excellent. Like, excellence is not an option. Like, be excellent at all times. And number two, if they hit you, hit them back. Don't let anyone play you. And I remember as a kid on the playground, like, don't let anyone put their hands on you. You will be in more trouble if you don't put your hands on them back. Don't come back here crying that you didn't hit them back. Very literal advice from my father back in the day. I will say I've never been in a fight, though, so don't think I was out here punching little kids on the playground. I've never been in a fight as a child or as an adult outside of like tussling with my sister. But back to compulsion. So my definition of compulsion, or the definition honestly online too, is an irresistible urge to behave in a certain way, especially against one's conscious wishes. And when you think about it, it's no matter what your wishes are, you know you still have to do it. You know you still have to get out of bed to do whatever it is. My conscious wishes sometimes are to relax, to unwind, to do less. But compulsion drives me to move forward regardless. When I think back on the last 10 plus years of my life, y'all, I've been moving. I look back and I'm almost in shock of all the things that I've done, and not in a like, you go girl, pat yourself on the back type of way, but in a, I've really done a lot of things. In 2011, I started my first career development job. I got promoted to another role at an Ivy League university in 2013. In 2016, I moved into an inaugural role at another Ivy League school. In 2019, I made a transition to a large global DE&I role in corporate America. And at the same time, I launched my first blog. I will not tell you the name because I can't figure out how to get it off the internet. And it's kind of ugly. But I started that in 2011, where I was talking a lot about health and fitness and wellness. I had my first ever influencer partnerships before it was such a big thing. In 2013, I launched my company Now, Manifest Yourself, and I started speaking professionally at that time. In 2017, I filed my LLC. In 2019, I really turned up the heat in my business and I started doing corporate programming. So going into organizations and providing learning and development, whether it was one-off programs or series, especially for their women and people of color, teaching them how to position themselves as leaders. And in 2021, I resigned from my corporate career and moved into doing Manifest Yourself full-time and launched my first book. I don't think that I talk a lot about my personal life because I feel like I didn't have a choice in doing these things. No matter how much I wanted to relax, I felt like I still had to keep moving. Some people may call that striving. But for me, it's like I just knew the vision that I have for my life is so much larger than where I am today. And I need to get up and continue to move and groove. I honestly didn't even talk about my personal life during that time. I talked about my work. I talked about my business. And I think my business, I think of that as personal, but I didn't even mention any transitions I just had as a human being in this world at that time. Compulsion is what drove me, because slowing down, in my opinion, was never an option. So now, I don't want to push that you have to drive at all costs, because that's not realistic. One of the things I've learned is that you have to rest. I'm currently in the midst of an 8-week travel stint where I am in a different city basically every other week. So rest is important. After this stint, please know I'm going to sit down, relax, and spend some good time in a spa and with my girlfriends and watching Netflix on my couch. I don't think that compulsion and drive should bring you to being overwhelmed, being overworked, being tired where you can't get up. But I do think when you think about what do you need to drive, what do you need to get excited about your goals? When you want to create change, what is it that's going to help you put, and what do they say? Put the pedal to the metal, right? I almost said it the backwards way. What's going to help you put the pedal to the metal to achieve your goals? Because it's going to take something. And for me, I had a clear vision of where I wanted to be, and that's what allows me to act every single day. When you are unclear of where you want to be, it is very hard to take action, because you can't take action if you don't know where you're going. And you're going to be nervous to take that action because you don't know if it's in the right direction. So it's important that you have that clear vision. So I have 3 questions for you about what you are compelled to do. So question 1, what gets you excited? What brings you joy? What is the thing that you would do even if you were not getting paid for it? Number 2, what could you do if you could do anything? So we're not talking about your background, your skills, your experience, or any of those things. What are the things that you would do? What could you do if you could do anything? So many times, I believe I have another podcast episode out that talks about the box that we operate in. We all operate in whatever box we've created for ourselves based upon our skills, experiences, etc. But I want you to think outside of that box. If the world was your oyster, what would you do? And then, what is in your zone of genius? If you haven't read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, please go read it. It's one of my favorite books. But what is in your zone of genius? What is that thing that can't nobody touch you when you do it? What is that thing? So again, the 3 questions: what gets you excited? What could you do if you could do anything? And what is in your zone of genius? Ask yourself these questions, and this is going to help you put together your vision so that you can be compelled to take action. Because I know this is what's worked for me. When I know I have a vision, I'm able to drive and move toward that goal because I'm clear on what each and every step needs to be. In future episodes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about goal setting because it's crucial to help you figure out what those steps are in order to get to your next move. So with that, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and may your next move really and truly be your very best move.
Choose you when your body's telling you and your mind's telling you, that means you are already past the point of something you should have already done. Yeah. So go do it now. And then there's this other side, which I feel like a lot of us are in this role as CEOs and the forerunner of our brands, is like